Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Right Click, hosted by yours truly. My name is Byrdman, and I am very excited to be in this new studio talking about new things and having a new episode, because this is going to be a really interesting episode. We're kind of deviating from some of the stuff that we've been talking about, kind of, sort of, not really, but not as much of a heavy emphasis. Before we get started, I hope you enjoyed the little clip I put out yesterday, that little 3-minute update video. I'm excited because I got more stuff coming in to prep for all of this kind of the new Reloaded, the new Player 2 podcasts and videos that are coming out. It's going to be fun stuff. It's going to be in addition to what you already see. Content is always fun to make, and this kind of stuff I'm really excited to do because a lot of this is my true bread and butter when it comes to gaming videos. But today we're actually talking about stuff kind of surrounding the gaming industry, not just specific games. It was actually, this was a weird day. There was a lot of, a weird week rather. There was a lot of announcements that came out, and it's not all great stuff. For the most part, about 90% of this video I can talk through without sounding like I'm complaining or sounding like I'm disgruntled. But it's interesting to see where this industry truly is. Because one of the things that we're going to start off with is Ubisoft. And it's funny, when I started doing this, I never intended on having Ubisoft be such a prominent topic. I never intended for that, but it seems like every episode or every other episode, Ubisoft is doing or has done something that is putting them back in the spotlight for all of the wrong reasons. And we actually, for the last couple of days, mind you, the day this video goes up is Friday, but throughout this week, Ubisoft has been in a weird spot because they have had their stock just tank. For whatever reason, they are in this position where they're just kind of screwing stuff up, and then they seem to be doubling down on it. One of the things I want to show you, this is just a quick Google search here. One of the things that really threw me off is that this was a major headline, that Ubisoft's stock is just progressively unstable. And I wasn't really sure what to cover because I'm not a stocks guy. I'm not going to pretend to be one. So I wanted to know more about what's going on, but this is the thing that I love about being able to just Google something like this. You can see they're down today 2.3%. And that's at time of recording. Mind you, I typically record prior to the video, the day the video goes up. And as of today, the stock has gone down a total of, I believe, 48%, which is wild. Because if you look on the right side here, I'll zoom in here for you. If you look on the right side, you'll see things like Nintendo, Roblox, Microsoft, Playtika. These other very similar companies are going up. Nintendo is a very influential developer to talk about because Nintendo makes things like Animal Crossing, Pokemon, etc. They're where Legend of Zelda's on. Point being, Ubisoft has been a big company to throw their weight around for a long time in the gaming industry. And here we are today talking about, wow, okay, something's gone wrong. Well, we've talked about things in the past like their first-person shooter kind of Call of Duty competitor called X-Defiant. Another one that we've talked about is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Another one that we've talked about is Star Wars Outlaws. Now, these are all games that have been very poorly received. And again, I don't want to sit here and trash on Ubisoft, especially on things that I'm not up to speed on. I'll put it that way. I'm just not up to speed on it, and that's okay. I'm not a stocks guy. I've already said that. But I started reading into, it's got to be more than just the games, right? There has to be some other catalyst or multiple catalysts that are causing something to spiral. And sure enough, I went to I've never been here, so I can't speak for the validity of this website, but I needed numbers. And that's what it provided. And from the looks of it, this is an analysis website for stocks. market news, market data, etc. And it's a website called seekingalpha.com. Again, don't know anything about it, but here, I wanted to know what was going on a numbers scale, and so that's where I found this number. They've dropped as of today, time of recording, September 12th, 48%. And this is a long and, to be fair, well-written article about what is causing this drop and why people aren't investing in it. And I'm just going to give this, I'm going to read off this brief synopsis that they have here. It's the summary of the article. And simply put, Canio Fontes describes it, the writer of this article describes it as this: 3 points. The global video game market is projected to grow at a CAGR of 13% from 2023 to 2030, making it a compelling industry to invest in. Ubisoft's stock is undervalued due to its uncertainties about its future, despite having strong IPs like Assassin's Creed or Far Cry. And I'm going to touch on that. The company's reliance on a few key titles and inconsistent performance make it an unattractive investment, despite its cheap valuation. And that is something that we have to discuss, because as much as people love Ubisoft's games, myself included, Assassin's Creed is still one of my, even with all its faults, it's still one of my favorite gaming series in existence. But because of things like Shadows, they've dropped, because I haven't covered this in a while, but there's been more drama that's happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows. It just seems to follow it. It's more along what we talked about of, hey, they have put out another trailer, or more videos or pictures or whatever it may be, and by golly, they got some historical inaccuracy right front and center, and Japanese individuals that are watching this are going, hey, this is even more incorrect than the last attempt. Try again. Then you have the release of Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws has not been well regarded. It's had a small subsect of people who really like it, and I wanted to be one of those people. I wanted to so bad because I love Star Wars. But no, unfortunately, that was not the case. And then we have what I deem to be one of the bigger catalysts from the gaming point of view and perspective is XDefiant. And I could do a whole nother video on XDefiant, and I've decided not to. I'm kind of weaving it into this. But XDefiant is struggling to even get up to a 20,000 concurrent player base. For a game like that, with a backer like Ubisoft, with a development company like Ubisoft, that's a really bad number. I mean, I'm curious. I'm just kind of going off track here, but I'm curious what current. Yeah, okay, a peak of 548,000 daily players for the current Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. It's averaging 38,000 concurrent players per day over the last 30 days, and that is after COD Champs. That's after the Black Ops 6, the new game's been announced. So that's important, because a game that is its own freestanding thing that had a massive launch is now struggling to even cap out at the top end 20,000 players. And they've even announced that if it doesn't make it through this next season 3 of the game, they're shutting it down. And again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that. This is a game that I've been interested in picking back up because of how I feel about the new Black Ops 6, which I've gotten to play. And that will be its own video. That's actually going to be episode 1 of, or the first kind of kickoff episode of Right Click Reloaded. Point being, this is a pattern that Ubisoft has continued to establish of just really poor stability. And then the plot thickens. I can't believe I'm saying this, but disgruntled Ubisoft investor calls on Assassin's Creed maker to go private as shares slump. I'm going to read this off, and for my folks that are listening rather than watching, I'm going to read through this article. This is on IGN, and you know how I feel about IGN, but this is a very fact-based article, pulling from other sources. I trust this a little bit more than most, so bear with me. So, a minority investor in Ubisoft has called on the company to go private amid a share slump following the release of Star Wars Outlaws. We knew that after the trifecta, X-Defiant, Assassin's Creed, Star Wars Outlaws, we knew that there was going to be a major tipping point, and unfortunately, Star Wars Outlaws did not bring itself up to that measure. So continuing on, as reported by the Wall Street Journal, Slovakia-based AJ Investments issued a strongly worded open letter to Ubisoft's board of directors, including its CEO, I believe it's pronounced Yves Guillemot, as well as a fellow investor, Tencent, that expressed dissatisfaction with the performance of the company and its current share price. Now, I want to focus on something really quick. Tencent is not a big name publicly in the eye of everyday gamers. However, Tencent is an extremely big company in the gaming sector. People just don't know that they're looking at a Tencent product. This is very equivalent to a BlackRock scenario. To that level of severity, probably not. But it's an accurate description. It's important to bring up here because even the co-founder, Yves Guillemot, co-founder of Ubisoft, they're all under fire. From a company like Tencent, AJ Investments, that is massive. Carrying on, last week, Ubisoft's share price plunged following the launch of Massive Entertainment's Star Wars Outlaws, which some analysts predicted will come in below expectations. And here's where IGN does IGN things. IGN's Star Wars Outlaws review returned to 7 out of 10. We said, quote, Star Wars Outlaws is a fun intergalactic heist adventure with great exploration, but it's hindered by simple stealth, repetitive combat, and a few too many bugs at launch, which you go in and dive into their actual reviews and the things that they say. The fact that they gave it a 7 out of 10 proves a bit of bias, and I personally, I don't want to get sued by IGN. I just don't trust them. Simple as that. This is not about me, though. Carrying on, Outlaws isn't the only game seemingly impacting Ubisoft shares. Free-to-play Call of Duty rival X-Defiant also appears to be having a tough time. And that's true. AJ Investments, a hedge fund that holds less than 1% in Ubisoft, urged the board of directors to take the company private or sell it to a strategic investor. The group clearly wants to see Guillemot out as CEO and threatened to gather similarly disgruntled minority shareholders for a proxy fight that would be brute force a sell if its demands are not met. It also called for further layoffs at the company despite the brutal state of the video game industry for developers. And that is absolutely true. That's what the majority of this episode is going to be about. Ubisoft, quote, Ubisoft at current state is mismanaged and shareholders are hostages of Guillemot family members and Tencent who take advantage of them, the open letter reads. There's further and somewhat bizarre commentary on pretty much all of Ubisoft's games, including the cancellation of free-to-play shooter The Division Heartland, pirate game Skull and Bones. Sidebar, totally forgot Skull and Bones was a Ubisoft game. It was awful, one of the worst games I've ever played. Which the investment group says was quote-unquote not a success. Yeah. Single-player adventure, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, quote, was okay but not very impressive as nobody talks about the game anymore. True. And ongoing live service multiplayer shooter, Rainbow Six Siege. The only thing, in my opinion, actually keeping Ubisoft afloat. And even they admit here it's doing great. However, franchises such as Rayman, Splinter Cell, For Honor, and Watch Dogs are sleeping for years, and on Star Wars Outlaws, it's, quote, expected to bring good numbers, but recent reviews show the game was not 100% ready to release, despite the fact that whole world was waiting for open world game under the Star Wars franchise. He's absolutely right. That's what myself and just numerous other people all wanted to see, was the world's first true, not necessarily No Man's Sky, but comprehensive open world Star Wars game. I'm going to say something about that's going to be highly controversial to a lot of the community. I think they could have gotten away think they could have gotten away with a Red Dead Redemption 2 or fill in the blank Outer Worlds, whatever, style for Outlaws. I didn't think they had to do the intergalactic thing. They could have made one genuinely open world, comprehensive open world, rather, and it probably would have done very well. But they tried to take the No Man's Sky, do too much, bite off more than they can chew route, and you see what they're left with. Basically, what this all boils down to is that at this point, the last line of defense for Ubisoft in the gaming eye right now is Assassin's Creed Shadows. And that's out in November. They got 2 months to turn this sucker around. And that is a huge, huge, huge problem, man. If this is what they're relying on, it's gonna be really, really tough. It's gonna be really, really tough for Ubisoft. But here's why I have even more skepticism than I initially expected I would. We have talked about the DEI and the just general nonsense and garbage that, for whatever reason, Ubisoft seems hell-bent on shoving down people's throat. I can't believe I'm saying this, but even in the midst of all of this has been going on for a good minute now. Slow dips and all this other garbage. I can't believe this is a real thing. They posted this on Ubisoft.com. It's an intern and graduates program. Develop at Ubisoft. And this is literally an internship program that you can apply for. It's open September 16th, September 27th. I cannot believe I'm reading this. Develop at Ubisoft. At Ubisoft, I'm reading this verbatim for my folks that are listening. At Ubisoft, we want to build the most creative, diverse, and inclusive teams. And that's exactly what development at Ubisoft, this program, is all about. Empowering and supporting underrepresented genders. The program provides mentorship opportunities for women and non-binary individuals, in parentheses, students or fresh graduates with less than 2 years of experience. Interested in video games to develop their skill set in game design and programming. We want to empower you to learn, grow, and become the very best developer that you can be. This mentorship program is accessible to aspiring talents in multiple countries, including Canada, China, France, Germany, Italy, India, Italy, Vietnam, and the USA. Join us at Develop at Ubisoft and embark on a transformative journey towards a more diverse and inclusive future for the gaming industries. I'm just quick sidebar. I'm gonna vomit. I have generally no issue with people talking about publicly about their race, creed, religion, gender, favorite day of the week, favorite carpet color. I don't really care. Talk all you want about it, but you do not have to put it in every bleeding facet of your life. Not every bit of you has to exude identity politics. And that's what we're talking about here. And this mentorship program somehow exceeds all lack of expectations that I ever had, not just for Ubisoft, but for the video game industry broadly. I'm going to continue reading this. We're not even halfway through because I need you to know what the criteria is for this program. If you ever wonder, just stop and wonder, why is the video game industry and the movie industry and the TV show industry so out of sorts right now? It's because we're letting this kind of garbage dictate our culture. So join me. Here we go. With more people playing video games than ever before, it's important for us to help build an inclusive entertainment industry that reflects the diversity of our players. With this mentorship, we have an exciting opportunity to support talents from different backgrounds, bringing fresh perspectives and new ideas. I know I keep cutting, but I have to bring up things regarding this. The whole point of video games for a long time is that it never mattered who, what, why you were. It was an entirely separate, fictitious world that you could explore and separate yourself from your daily life for an hour or two, or however long you want to play. For decades, that is what video games have been about. But here we are, and for whatever reason, we have brought that idea of escaping into a fictional world. No, we have brought the fictional world into video games, into movies, into culture. This whole non-binary and all this fictitious crap that we continue to allow in our speech, in our education system, shoved down our children's throats. This is why video games and movies and pop culture is no longer an escapism. It's just more depressing, twisted reality. But no, we have to build an inclusive entertainment industry that reflects the diversity of our players. No, you damn well don't. I'm sorry. I have never been more upset at the video game industry as a whole than when I see this kind of stuff. And it's not because I judge people based off of what they are or believe. It's because I am judging the character in which they exude on a broad scale. This is why people on our side of the aisle speak out so heavily against keeping this crap away from children, out of the education system, out of normal individuals' lives, because this is the exact antithesis of what video games as an industry was ever meant to be. Ever. So let's carry on. Sorry, I can rant all day about this. I'm genuinely hurt by this. Carrying on, the selected candidates will create a project based on a predetermined theme and will be mentored by a Ubisoft expert over a fixed period from November 2024 to March 2025. Specific timelines vary by location. During this time, they will receive feedback to help build their project. And here we go. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Eligibility criteria. To be eligible, you must. This is the first freaking line. Identify as a woman or a non-binary individual. Can't be a white dude that wants to get into video game development for one of the biggest video game developers in the world. You can't do that. Be 18 years old or older. That's not weird. Don't have a problem with that. Currently attend or have graduated in or after spring 2023. Have less than 2 years of professional experience in game design or programming in video games. Be legally entitled to work in the country where you're applying. Apply to only one location. Submit an individual entry. Team entries will not be considered. Okay. You take everything there. Separate the first line about identify as a woman or a non-binary individual. Everything else, perfectly reasonable. But there is a reason that they started out with identify as a woman or a non-binary individual. If you wonder why we have just had this complete and utter destruction of things that we have enjoyed for decades, it's because of this crap. And it's not just video games. Make no mistake here. It is not just video games. This is our politics. This is our social media and internet culture. I mean, this is just. I'm genuinely heartbroken by this because this is such a glaring example of why we are seeing a degradation of our society. And I am very rarely at a loss for words. And here we are. I just, and what does this kind of stuff lead to? It leads to layoffs. It leads to people's lives being cut down. Good people, genuinely good people. But when you have an 800-pound gorilla like this, I mean, this is the elephant in the room that for whatever reason, people are terrified. I mean, terrified to talk about it. And I cannot understand why we're just allowing this to happen. I mean, stock prices are plummeting, so people are losing their jobs. There's discord. Like, we're watching the absolute implosion of something that has for so long was built around a positive impact. And it's like we're not allowed to have that anymore. And I don't understand why. I just am heartbroken by this. Because it's so simple. You lead with that line and you wonder why people turn and run. You lead with stuff like that and you wonder why people can't get behind your product. You lead with things like Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws that are not meant to be a game that you play. Only part of it is. The other parts are the narrative, the message. I'm channeling my inner The Critical Drinker for those of you that are aware of that channel. It's no surprise that I Google Ubisoft and I'm seeing the just absolute collapse of their stock. I Google Ubisoft and I see layoffs. I Google Ubisoft and I see controversy. People bickering on Twitter, on everything. And my overarching point, and what I'm going to close on, is that this isn't just in video games. We have seen this. We're seeing this in so many different facets of our society. And it really does. It takes this, man. It takes people to speak out. We gotta return to some level of value, moral value. And we're just letting it all go to waste. And we're replacing good things with online bickering and hatred that never needed to be there. Ever. But here we are. Like I said, this was a much different episode because I knew this was going to go down a darker, more depressing path. But this is the reality. And it's a really, really sad one. Like, genuinely sad to see. It hurts my heart to see this. But at what point do you have anybody to blame but other than yourself? You did this. The people that bought into this garbage, that baked this cake, that's on you. And it's also on all of us who didn't spend the time speaking out against it, taking the lashes. And it's just sad because, man, this is Ubisoft could be a company that could be absolutely, no pun intended, game-changing. But no, we're seeing collapse. Xbox had layoffs again today. The video game industry is extremely unstable right now. And I want to see it prosper. And I'm going to fight to see it prosper. I'm going to fight to help it prosper. I'm just bummed. I really am. I'm just bummed. But such is life. That's on us as ruffians to fight the good fight. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to tell you about some things. Go check out the newest article that came out today. Make Peace or Be Peaceful. It's very similar along with what we talked about last week, which if you haven't seen last week's episode, please go watch it because, man, it was a fantastic episode. And it's along the lines of a lot of the stuff that we talk about here at Right Side Media. Go check out our other stuff. Go check out The Right Philosophy. Go check out Right Side Radio. We're doing these things because it's time for us to be the ones to stand up and say, hey, we'll carry that load. That's what we have to do. It's not comfortable. It's not fun sometimes, but it is necessary. It is a responsibility. And our culture has very heavily pushed out the idea of responsibility. So it's on us. We can carry the weight and we can turn this ship around because there are more of us than there are of them. And that's a fact. It's a fact. So I'm going to leave you with that. As always, my name is Byrdman. I hope you enjoyed the new studio. I hope you enjoyed the new cool stuff that's coming out. I'm very excited. Hoping that next week, probably next weekend, some of the first episodes of these other things are coming out. But with that, thank you all for watching. Go check us out on rightsidemedia.org. And I hope you enjoyed. And I hope to see you back next week. You guys have a wonderful day.